Honestly, when you have a 105mm, nothing is challenging because it's such a fun lens.
It just looks good. So you probably can't tell right now, but it's really cloudy outside. It's kind of boring. Like, the only good thing it is for is this diffused light. It's not really good for photos. Like, there's nothing interesting I can do with it for photos. But the thing is, I want to go out and take photos because I've got the time to take photos, and that's pretty rare for me. So I think either way, I'm gonna go to the city, take some photos, and try to do my best to make them interesting. Now that I think about it, if it's a cloudy day, it kind of makes it a blank canvas, so I can pretty much do whatever I want in editing, but I want to try making an interesting photo out of the camera straight off. So let's give it a try. Alright, so I'm in the city now and it started raining, which is pretty interesting because it actually kind of helps with making photos, because when the floor is wet, you get like reflections of whatever you're shooting downwards. So it's pretty cool. I've got Limon here as well. He's gonna come shooting with me and we're gonna try shooting on this boring day. Like, the only time I shoot in the daytime is generally with portraits. Shooting street and trying to make it look interesting during the day, it's gonna be a challenge, which I kind of like.
I don't think I've shot street in the daytime for a while as well. Like, I shoot sunset
or sunrise.
Yeah. But not during the day, especially on like an overcast day as well. So we'll see.
We'll see. Alright, so we're at Collins Street right now, and I think this is where we're gonna be shooting. I think we're gonna try sticking in this place, like this street, mainly to give it a bit more challenge of just like being stuck in one location. I'm also gonna be sticking with one lens, which is the Sigma 35. Lamon's gonna be sticking with the Sigma 105.
Thank you, Sigma, by the way.
Shout out to Sigma. So one location, one lens each, and just trying to make good of this condition, which is a cloudy day. So let's get to it. Tip that I can give you is to shoot interesting characters rather than relying on your location or conditions of the weather or anything. Thanks, mate. But yeah, just trying to find interesting characters. So what that means is finding someone that either is dressed colorfully, differently, or just has like an interesting look to them. So for example, everyone around in the city generally wears black or gray. So finding someone wearing like a really vibrant hoodie or a jacket is really good for a photo.
Yeah.
Another tip would be to shoot through objects. So for example, shooting through glass is interesting because you also get reflections coming back into the lens. It sort of changes up the actual framing and composition. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Or you can have stuff in the foreground to show depth in your photo.
Basically a card that I cut out, which I found in my pocket from like a gig last night. So I'm going to use this, and the advantage of using this, so I can use it to frame my photos, which makes sort of like an interesting concept for a photo. So let's try it out. I think we're pretty much done. Did you get any good photos?
Yeah, I reckon I got some cool photos.
Sick. Was it challenging for you?
Honestly, when you have a 105mm, nothing is challenging because it's such a fun lens.
It just looks good. I've seen the photos and they look good. Damn it.
It's just so much fun. I didn't really find it challenging, but it definitely made me think.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That's a good thing though. That's a
really good thing.
Yeah. Alright, so yeah, we're gonna head home, edit the photos, and see how they go. So yeah, in general, Melbourne weather is pretty well known for being unpredictable and oftentimes boring. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I shoot during night most of the time. And with the portrait shoots that I shoot during the day, it's easier because the model is the subject and I've got something to work with already. So when it comes to shooting street on a very cloudy and not so interesting day, it becomes a challenge, and most of the time I get unmotivated or uninspired to go shooting. But today I definitely felt like tackling this challenge. And yeah, the results were definitely interesting. Like, following those tips that I said in the video definitely help you exercise your creativity and get your juices flowing, and really keeping your eyes peeled for anything interesting in the street scene. Because street photography is pretty hard when it comes to finding something interesting, because it's very rare to find something interesting in such a mundane world, I guess. But anyway, the photos. So my first tip was to find interesting subjects, whether it be people, cars, or anything that you find that stands out from the general scene. This could be like an interesting color or an interesting look, or just something that juxtaposes from the scenario. For example, this shot right here that Limon took, it's basically of a car that you don't usually see in the city. You generally see really boring cars, taxis, but no, there's this Lotus that looks pretty cool and just is there around a orange background, and it's kind of cool. Of course, cool cars in general sort of catch the attention anyway, so taking a photo of it is even better. Next up was Limon's tip, which is shooting through something. So that could be either glass, making a natural frame, or something like that. It just makes it a lot more interesting. It creates a sort of environment around the subject that you're taking photos of. Like for example, this photo right here of this person that's sort of closing their eyes, and it was shot through the window of the cafe, and it created a lot of glare and reflections, and it adds a bit of haziness to the photo. And because her eyes are closed and there's a lot of glare and reflections going on, it almost looks like she's daydreaming or something. So it's kind of creating a story for itself, but that's just what I see. Like, it's totally up to whatever you see it is. And lastly was pure luck, because in my deck of cards I had like a little cutout card, and it creates like almost like a picture frame kind of thing, and I pretty much decided to use that as a prop. It sort of follows what Limon's tip was, which is shooting through something. So for me, I use this as a frame to capture something interesting within that shot. And luckily I combined it with my first tip, which is finding someone interesting, which happened to be this person in like a really bright pink jacket. And the shot lined up to be looking down the alley, which just makes it really sort of easier to see. And with the frame as well, it just makes the shot look even better. And then when it came to editing, I just took whatever was outside of the frame and added a bit of zooming blur to it, just so it makes the focus purely what's inside the frame of the photo. But yeah, that was me and Limon's attempt at going out on a boring day and still trying our best to take interesting photos. So moral of the story is, you don't need the best conditions to take interesting photos. And if you want to see any more of our photos, check me out on Instagram at TobyTrin_ and Limon at LimonFan. And with that being said, if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you want, and as always, continue to create. I'll see you in the next one.